So I have a couple epiphanies today, and I just realized I'm like, oh, it is random rant or reflection Wednesday. It's crazy how your mind and your system has like a internal clock or a memory within it, and so sometimes you don't even realize why you're doing something until you realize, oh, I always do this on Wednesdays, or I always do this on my birthday, or I always do this around this time of year. And it's just crazy how your body just remembers that, or I always feel this way around this time of year. And so that's just a little bit of wisdom right there. You can take that with how you want to. But I want to start off this thing with when you awaken, like there's a lot of aspects to it, but a big part of it is your perspective. And people are always talking about like your higher self and you know, that higher level of perspective. And for me, that encompasses basically love, seeing things from a place of love, seeing things from a place of confidence within your self-worth and sense of self. So it's like being able to just have this level of compassion for others, but also balancing it with knowing your worth, and you know that a lot of times some things are bigger than you, and not everything is to be taken personally. But yeah, let's get into it. So one thing I want to say too is that sometimes I think, like what I just mentioned earlier, that there's times of year where we feel this way or feel that way. But okay, for example, say a woman has PMS, right? And that's where she has mood swings, you know, around her cycle or whatever. And she may feel that she gets this way around PMS. But to be honest, that has just become a focal. There has been an emphasis on that time period within society. Like it's a conditioning, it's a programming within us. So it's like when you hear something, it's hard for your mind to detach from that level of knowledge, even though it may not be your truth. You know what I'm saying? So because people has always said, you know, when their women are on their periods, they're moody, they're this, they're angry, yada yada yada. It's hard to break away from that. It can be, but there's goods and bads to that. So you can use it. You can use this time as a place to reflect and, you know, do some introspection and like look within yourself and see like what's going on. But 9 times out of 10, the anger, the frustration, the mood swings, there's biological things, you know, hormonal issues, but it's also spiritual too. And there's things that you have not been addressing all month long. And that's what really is like come to a head. You know what I'm saying? Like now your hormones are so high or so unbalanced or whatever, and you're at a different state of tolerance, you're at a different state of strength, you're at a different state of whatever. So now that protector that, you know, maybe you think as shadow, that BITCH is coming out to protect you. She's coming out screaming now for you. I don't know if you guys watched the movie Venom, but Venom is kind of like the shadow self in a sense. And it's that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. A lot of movies I feel like are playing on that voice within our head, but you got to be careful with how it's manipulating you. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let it make you believe that you're this dark or evil person or you're this or that. No, we all have the capability of being dark or evil, but at the end of the day, you have to realize you have choice. That energy is always going to be out there. Like that duality is always going to be out there, but you have the right to choose and control what choices you make in life. You know what I'm saying? So understand there's a difference between telling somebody how you should be treated versus killing someone, physically harming someone, sexually abusing someone. You know, all these things that are common sense, like that we should be instilling in our child, that are totally off limits as of right or wrong, sins and, you know, good deeds. There is a right or wrong in certain things. There is a good and bad. There is sins out there. There is evil out there. And don't let people try to manipulate you and feel like, oh, you want to be free? Let yourself out. Let it out. Let that aspect of you out. No, everything does not need to be out. Everything is not you. Everything is not with your soul, with your heart, with your spirit. Some things are playing on the pain and the wounds and the, you know, disrespect or oppression or just anything that you've experienced that has been hurtful is playing on that and trying to make that shadow self, that the person that stands up or has a level of autonomy, fester into something worse than what it is. You know what I mean? So just be mindful of that. But I also want to get into, I talk about conscious parenting, but within conscious parenting, there's conscious teaching. Clearly, as a parent, you're innately a teacher. You're born that teacher to them. But it can be also for teachers, just in general, people who don't have kids or who do have kids, but people who teach actual children in a school system or setting. Just understand that, which I feel like there should be a lot more training within the school systems, because there's so much, like, I don't see, especially preschool, there needs to be a whole reform on the education system. Like, I don't see how this quote unquote educational system or indoctrination system can actually be as subpar as it is, knowing that from birth to the age of 7, our children's foundation is built. Their mind is like a sponge and like a recorder, sucking everything in, everything we instill in them as their truth, as their piggy bank per se, that they dip into when they need to, like a resource, their toolbox that they dip into when they need resources in life. What they think like that, what we say to them becomes their inner voice. And it's sad how there's so much of a lack of attention to that. And I want to get into today, I was kind of in a bad mood. I've been feeling like a lot of anger lately. And I don't really know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's just within the energy or within myself. I'm still on a journey just like everybody else. And I noticed that my son, he's energetically connecting me. He's feeling a lot of anger, and he's acting on his through more aggressive behaviors with me and his classmates and everything. And I have to remind myself constantly that he's like a mini adult. How I react to his behavior is going to shape his reaction. And what I want to tell all you adults and teachers out there is, I know it's easy to look at a child's behavior through the eyes of an adult, but what we have to understand is our eyes have been conditioned and programmed in a lot of dysfunctional, ignorant, unhealthy ways. And not all of them are bad, but sometimes we have to realize that we do have to unlearn, and in order to relearn, so we can break the cycles that have made us internalize so many, feelings that are inferior, like inferiority, just low self-image, sense of self, So, you may see your child acting aggressively, being what we think, oh, and then, based on their behavior, we're quick to label them. Oh, they're bad. They're evil. They're stingy. Oh, they're bougie. They're all these labels we learn as children, as we're growing up. And, that's kind of just innately human to label things and to try to put it in a box and categorize it, because sometimes it makes things easier, but sometimes it complicates things, because it's sometimes deeper than that. And children, they have the same needs as adults. They just don't understand their needs until we put a label on, until we teach them what those things are. We have to literally explain what everything is to them so that they can understand and start making more better choices once they discover their independence and autonomy and sovereignty, whatever you want to call it, their personal power. And so if you see a child hitting and you just start going to stop being bad, you're this, you're a bully, you're whatever, instead of trying to figure out what it is. Oh, they want attention. Oh, they're not feeling loved right now. Oh, they're feeling abandoned. Or, oh, they're feeling like, no one wants to be their friend. Or they're having a lot of anger within themselves and they don't know what to do with that anger, but to release it onto somebody else. So if you don't give them another option, here, you can punch this pillow. Here, you can scream. We're outside. Go ahead. Here, you can run around. Here, you can go. Let's go to let's go use the punching bag. Let's go take some deep breaths, like some big ones, and you know what I mean, or whatever. You want to wrestle, like whatever. Like you come up and you use your own personal judgment, but instead of just, I know as a human, come on, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Do I lose it sometimes, and do I teeter back to that old way of parenting? Yes. And honestly, when I say old way, that doesn't mean all of the things from the old way is bad. But do I sometimes do some of the things that I innately, like naturally go to? Yes. And then, but I'm big on making up for it. If I feel like I've lost my temper, or I did some things that I didn't want to do, I was in a heated moment, or I was frustrated, or my tolerance was thin, or I was in a stressful moment. So I kind of, didn't have the patience that I normally would. Then I would go back and, talk to them and reassure them that I love them and whatever. anytime you discipline your child or a student, please make sure to let them know that the love that you have for them is unconditional, because you don't know if you're the only person that's ever telling them that. And you have to continue to fill their cup up with positive things, because there's going to be enough people draining that cup with negative. You get what I'm saying? So your job is to give them a foundation stern and firm enough, whereas to where that they have enough tools and enough strength in that foundation to withstand what I call the tornado of life. You know what I'm saying? So just be aware of that, and just understand that they want control, power, attention, love, just like we do. And a lot of the behaviors that they do is what I call the iceberg effect. I know a lot of you, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but it's basically where the things you see, the behavior you see is usually a buildup of a lot of different things that are underneath. Like if you think of an iceberg, it's a big chunk of ice. And when you're sailing in a boat, all you see is that like tip of it. But you have no idea that it's about 100 feet of ice at the bottom of it that you can't see. So it's like all that area that's on the bottom is underlying issues. It could be frustration. It can be tiredness. It can be sensory overload, like overstimulation. It can be needing to feel seen, needing connection, you know. And on the outside, all you see is hitting, kicking, punching, screaming, crying, whatever. And that behavior is usually unfavorable because it's hard to take. It could be embarrassing. It can be overwhelming for you as a human. You know, we have emotions too, and sometimes crying, screaming, hitting, kicking. That's hard on us. You know, but I just want you to understand and just kind of try to come back to center and balance. And when you're doing your disciplining or teaching, make every moment a teaching moment. Teach them things about their behavior, you know, help them understand that, you know, do you think this person feels good when you do that? Give them solutions, like I mentioned earlier, what they can do to release or calm or exert that energy. There's multiple options. Maybe their energy needs to be calmed. Maybe their energy needs to be exerted. Maybe their energy needs to be released, whatever. You have to do that. And also, start giving your children releasing baths. Like, put some Epsom salts in there, pray over it, you know, what your intentions are. Help them release the energies of the day, especially if they're around a lot of kids. They're immersed in a lot of energy. That energy is hard for them too. In the same way I came into work a little ag, my son came into school ag. But the only difference is I'm old enough to know what I can and can't do. Maybe I was taught in another way. Maybe I was taught with threats. Whatever way, that's what I say, I don't judge. Whatever way, either way it goes, I know what's right and what's wrong. Maybe my Christian roots taught me, you know, this is behavior you don't do, this is simple, whatever you want to say, whatever you might want to judge. But at the end of the day, some things do need a little fear in its heart to know that this ain't finna cut it. I'm going to teach you that that's not you, and I'm going to teach you solutions, and I'm going to teach you this and that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to let you know what my boundaries are and what my restrictions are. And there's a cause and effect. There's always going to be an action, and not every action, but some actions are going to require consequences. And these are basic life skills. Try to focus on life skills with your children, because a lot of things that they're teaching is not focusing on life skills. And these are important because guess what? They're called life skills. That's one thing they're going to have for the rest of their life. So I feel like that's something that really should be emphasized in school and in parenting. But yeah, I'm not saying this as it's coming from a judgmental place. I'm just sharing what I feel and what, you know, the epiphanies that I have as a teacher, as a mother, as a friend, sister, whatever. All the things I've put together and from my life and from my experience. And no, I'm not perfect. No, I'm not a perfect parent. I'm probably not even like half of these perfect parents online who, you know, preach the gentle parenting, yada, yada, yada. Because like I said, I don't do everything like they do. I still have my, whatever you want to call Black mama voice. I still say, boy, I'm not playing with you. He know how to, I can get him right real quick. So you can say what you want to say about me, but I'm just keeping it real. And I'm trying to be authentic and transparent, but also let you guys know that there is a balance. And as long as you keep coming back to center of love, unconditional love, and trying to help them understand that they are not their behaviors, they're not their actions, they're not those things that may seem disturbing to us, but we as parents have to understand and find solutions and ways that they can release those emotions and behaviors and channel them into more positive, healthy ways. But yeah, that's all I want to say as of now. Keep God first. Be open to receiving all the peace, love, light, and healing energies I'm giving you guys. Peace out. Something else I forgot to add. Sorry if you hear me smacking. I'm eating my lunch and doing this. Also, just from watching, and I mean 3, 4, 5-year-olds, not even older kids. Kids are very influential and they do put a lot of pressure. They can peer pressure kids. I've seen several leader type spirits of children lead kids to do bad things. And then you can always see the leader qualities in some kids, and you can always see the codependent, whatever you want to label it, or follower type qualities in other people. And it can be because some have more of a level of confidence than others, and some just find more comfort in not being a leader or whatever. But please keep reiterating to your child to be a leader, but to lead in a more positive way. Teach them that if you're strong, and you want to make sure you're showing people how to be strong and how to be leaders, and not picking on people who seem less intimidating than you and this and that, and just keep reiterating like how they want to be treated, because children don't really have the capacity at young ages to have empathy per se. You have to condition the empathy within them, because they don't understand that other person has feelings, in a sense that hurts that person, and the way that you have to put things into perspective for children. And this is why I'm saying, you as a parent, you're the foundation. You don't want them to get the wrong information from someone else. So you always want to try to give them what they want. But at the end of the day, you have to surrender as a parent as well, and as a teacher, and knowing that you did all you could, and their wisdom is always going to be there, whether they choose to use it or not. Because believe it or not, when you want a level of temptation, or you want a level of doing something that you may feel like fulfills your desires or urges, you're going to find someone to co-sign that. It's easy to find somebody to co-sign bad things or negative urges or whatever, any urges, bad or good. But just be mindful of that with children, because I see it now at young ages. Kids telling kids to, let's tease them, let's call them names, let's do this and do that. And I take those moments very seriously, and I pull them aside and try to really break it down to them, and let them know how powerful they are and how much of a leader they are. But be leaders in a positive way. And we were also talking about, there's some kids who you can just see them, especially the boys, like especially the little, the African American boys. Like, there's even other teachers I've heard, they say like, oh my God, he has such a pure heart, like just such a big heart, but such a hard shell. I'm like, exactly. And I wanted to say like, that's especially within the black, male. And it's like, for men, they're so boxed in emotionally. Like, they're torn all the time between being hard and strong versus being weak, or perceived as a girl, or being perceived as, even like gay, because that has like a negative connotation to associated with it. But and that's like, it's sad, because they want to be sweet, they want to be this and that. But in this world, we're so conditioned with, when you're sweet, when you're nice, when you're generous, people want to take advantage of that and use that and over whatever, manipulate that. But this is where you balance it with, I'm choosing to have a good heart. I'm choosing to be nice. I'm choosing to be generous. I'm choosing and have a boundary and a limitation that these are still my boundaries. Yes, I'm a good worker, but am I going to overwork myself to make life easier for you so that you can slack or so you can be lazy? No. Yes, I'm a generous person, but am I going to give you all my money so you can be happy and I can be broke? No. You know what I'm saying? So it's like understanding that level of balance, understanding that don't take my kindness for weakness, and a nice guy is not going to finish last anymore. I still choose to be nice. I still choose to have a good heart. I can still be strong as a man and still have a heart. I can be a hood nigga with a heart. That's the thing. People feel they get so attached to the labels they've been given, and it's a black and white thinking like, oh, if I'm hard, I got to be hard. No, and even with, men, like, I understand, like, they have to walk around with a level of defense on their face because they don't want to be taken for weakness. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing. Even women, I notice a lot of black women, we have this angry look on our face a lot, and I'm including myself. And I have to catch myself sometimes, be like, relax yourself. And I notice when I have that look, it's because I'm in my head thinking about something that I'm assuming and already creating my whole mood around, oh, you think you just better than me, or, oh yeah, you probably racist. Let me guess, you finna move because I'm sitting right here. All this stuff that is going in my head, scrunching my face up as I'm thinking it. And I'm like, you know what? Let me take a deep breath. Let me relax. Hey, how you doing? I got out of my head and just gave it a benefit of the doubt. And 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you, my experience, I'm always wrong. And I sit up there and have a whole 2-hour conversation with this person who I just was up there sizing them up, over judging, misguided. And guess what? They probably was doing the same thing. But we both just proved ourselves wrong, and we're switching the narrative and the perspective. And that's the power that you have when you get in the driver's seat of your mind. A lot of times the enemy, the monster mentality, that's your mind. The they that we always talk about, a lot of times that's our minds and what we've been programmed with, what we've been conditioned with based on experiences, media. A lot of times the only reality a lot of us have is media. When you think about black television back in the day, a lot of it was like violent, depressing. Like every time we about to get a break, something happens that screws us up, that messes with our worst case scenario thinking, all that kind of stuff. And it's like you have to start, when you start realizing all the things that you were programmed, conditioned with, and you start being like, you know what, I'm gonna get out of my head and just prove it wrong. Always go back to that. That's a good base for me. I always like, okay, let me just prove wrong. Okay, that's what I think. I think this gonna happen. Let me see if it's gonna happen. The only way I'm gonna know is if I try. If I don't try, I already fail. So that was just a couple more things. I do have a lot of videos on media manipulation and psyche. Also, you can follow my Instagram page, the.spiritual.activist, and I have a lot of highlights. And one of them is called Psyche-ish. But that kind of talks a lot about the manipulation that can be happening within the media. And really all my highlights got a lot of wisdom and stuff in there, but I know it's a lot of information. Just take little by little and go with your heart and what is called to you, what resonates with you. But hopefully you got some gems out of this stuff because I know these things have worked for me and in my journey. So peace out. Okay, so right here, I want to talk about where do I think my anger comes from. Like sometimes I feel anger boiling up inside of me, and anger can fuel your thoughts to a lot of places. Frustration can fuel your thoughts to a lot of intrusive thoughts, to a lot of behaviors that you know is not you or not what you want to do, but because of your state of energy, it can fuel you to do things that, or make you think about things that you know is not in alignment with your soul, with your heart, with you as a person and how you identify yourself. But I want to talk about where I feel like a lot of my anger comes from. I feel like my anger comes from just in life. And disclaimer, anyone who knows me, don't take this personally. It doesn't mean that I'm talking about you or referring to you. But it comes from a life of feeling like I've always been an overachiever surrounded by a bunch of underachievers. Like I'm always working very, very hard to prove myself and show people that, I'm loyal, I'm worthy, I'm a good person, I'm a good friend, I'm a good worker, all these things proven to other people when other people may not have the capacity to even identify that or see that because they can't even see it within themselves. And as I've come on my journey, I've recognized a lot of that proving and all the expectations, some realistic, some unrealistic, that I put on myself. And some of it, a lot of it came from Christianity. And I was talking to one of my coworkers today because she's a very devout Christian too, but she wants to, be more enlightened on how to raise her child, with the Christian, to build more relationship with Christ and to be Christian without the religious aspect of it, the do's and the don'ts and the this don't do that, because you may memorize and have the indoctrination of all the things that kind of help control or repress those evil or bad thoughts, but do you really feel the connection? Do you feel the love of Jesus, of God that you want, that really empowers you to know your worth, to know your heart, and to build a relationship with that? And so I kind of just feel like my anger also comes from feeling like I'm overworked, feeling like I'm taken for granted, that and it's so funny that I feel like God puts you in a lot of situations that will keep pushing you until you break. But in those situations, you have to choose what reaction you're gonna do. Are you gonna make it like turn you into this darkness? Or are you gonna make it like where it doesn't break you? Like, you're not gonna make me. The world is not gonna mold me. Yeah, I've been in a lot of situations where I've been hurt and disregarded and treated wrong. But I'm proud of myself that I didn't turn rotten from it. And I didn't turn dark or cold and totally close off my heart. My heart has always still remained open and pure. And that is, in essence, who I am. And people can say, people pleasing, and I get it. That has been a part of my life, but it's also a part of who I am. Not necessarily to be a people pleaser, but, I just like to be a good person. And if that happens to please a person, then it's kind of a win-win. But, yeah, just being in a world feeling like I'm oppressed, seeing all the media depictions of black people being hurt and treated wrong in TV shows and news and everything, just being engulfed in so much trauma has fueled me with so much anger. And I know this is just within my kids. They are fueled with so much anger. You can just see it in the little black boys, especially, and then seeing it in the girls too. But it's just like, they have that's innately in them DNA, because it should have already been like no one's really conditioned them with that right now. And then also, probably from the hands of their parents. Sometimes we resort to very, aggressive behaviors for discipline, and that child is kind of never able to release that anger onto their parents in return. So they carry that too. But I'm going to reflect more on this, but this was just a short little thing. I got to go back to work. I'm already late. But I just had to get this off my chest of, a little bit of where I feel like my anger has come from over my lifetime. So right now it's early in the morning. Couldn't sleep. My hair, getting it ready for wash day, and just really reflecting again, kind of thinking, because sometimes when I can't sleep, it's like my spirit is high, my mind is has a lot of things that it needs to share, release, express, and venting, talking. This podcast has been a platform that has been very healing for me, for my mind. If you're not into podcasts, you can always get like a recording app and do like a audio diary if you don't want to share with the world, you know what I mean? Because it's honestly very healing to get your thoughts out. But also reconsider that maybe your story needs to be heard and shared. But always talk with God before you talk with any platform, Kind of see with your heart and see if there's something you want to share with the collective. Is that going to elevate the collective or further oppress and depress the collective? But I was just thinking about anger again. And when I was talking about, sometimes at the hands of guardians, caretakers, teachers, physical discipline or verbal discipline can be like almost, I feel like 9 times out of 10, black people, we're not just angry for nothing. It is literally years of built up, repressed anger. And when you have narratives or labels or like stereotypes like angry black female and like the black man being seen as the most aggressive and fearful person, those are emotional roadblocks. Those make us not feel comfortable in a space to be authentic in our emotions and how we feel. And to me, I'm like, screw that. You could think I'm mad all you want, but you're not gonna treat me anyway. You're not gonna make me second guess who I am. You're not going to give me subpar treatment because of who I am and how I look. And and this isn't like assuming. This is like once I have concrete facts that that's what is happening, and I'm not just projecting the racial injustices that I've witnessed on TV and stuff onto you. Because sometimes the reality is people aren't being racist to you, but sometimes we do carry not wounds, but we carry like programming and like unconscious biases. Like we just basically assume everybody is the same, and sometimes they're not, sometimes they aren't. But yeah, basically, if I feel like that is true, I'm gonna address it. I'm gonna prove my mind wrong. All right, but also know that not all the anger is yours to carry, and it's okay to release the energetic cords of anger that don't belong to you. But if you feel like you're called to fight for something or for, injustice in something, then go for it. If you're called to a cause bigger than yourself, go for it. But also balance and know it's okay to have fun, because a lot of times I feel like, as black people, we get lost in having a sense of purpose that we don't realize a big part of the purpose is black excellence, black joy, black peace, those things too. You can't just be in activist mode 24/7 and holding space for all those dense energies and think that you're going to live a happy life. That's going to take a toll on you. If you don't know how to have energetic protection and how to establish boundaries and limits and balance, you're going to be setting yourself up for misery, in my opinion. Like your self-worth is more than what you do. Your self-worth is innate, meaning you're born with it. And it is good to have a cause. It is good to have a purpose. But just know that sometimes your purpose doesn't have to be what we consider a label as grandiose, like, or on like what we consider a big scale. It could be just being a mother, just being a father. And I don't say just lightly, because that is a big role. You're actually shaping the life and foundation of a human being. That's very important. And some people have more than one. But there's a lot out here that's playing on the stressors of life and making you feel like there's peace on the other side, there's this on the other side, having people actually leave their families, leave their children, leave their life. And it's like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Yes, some experiences or situations or circumstances do need to be left, but no way should a mother or father be leaving their child. Like, so what now? What you okay? You have 5 kids. Okay, yes, it's harder to manage, and the stresses can be overwhelming sometimes. But honor that. You know what I mean? Like, see where you are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and make adjustments in that. Ask for help. And I don't mean like you have to go on a rampage and yell it and learn how to be in the driver's seat of your emotions. Sometimes it may take that if the person can't hear you or are not taking you seriously, but you can always start off civilized. It don't have to get to a place of getting crazy and irate, because then you're losing yourself. Then you're no longer in control. The shadow self, the self that don't play and who's strong-willed and who's your protector, it may step up and be like, do not play with her. You know what I'm saying? It's like your little bodyguard sometimes. But you have to prove to your mind and your spirit and your shadow that you can handle your own battles. Like you're not gonna let people just run over you and treat you anyway, and you know your worth, and you know that what you deserve and what you don't deserve. But yeah, when it comes to anger, just realize, ask yourself, where do you think it comes from? And a lot of times it's not necessarily the people who give us the anger are usually people who are used as pawns. You know what I'm saying? And when I say pawns, like for me, I feel like for powerful black women who are spiritually powerful, men in their lives black men I feel like have been used as pawns to oppress women. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing to black men. It's like it's not their fault. They just have not been aware at how they've been used and how they're, experiences of pain and emotional, how can I say, oppression has affected them and has made them stuck in life. And it's hard for, and healing for men is way harder to me than for women, because of the fact that they can't really honor a lot of emotions without battling the feeling of feeling weak or this or that or whatever. But that has been, to me, like meticulously planned and part of the agenda, part of their monster mentality, that keeping us oppressing each other. Like, how they say the oppressed oppresses, and it's because of the programming. I always try to not deflect from the roots, because sometimes it's easy to point fingers at our own community, our own people, but really we have to look deeper and say, is it really our people, or is it really the circumstances and the programming that has been infiltrated within our minds, within our spirit, within our hearts, or whatever? So I don't even really feel like things can infiltrate your heart. I think things can block your heart, but nothing can really get to your soul or your heart. That's why you have to learn how to tap into it and open it. It's very healing. Love is the highest frequency, and it can heal and conquer anything. Just be mindful of that. I honestly forgot what I was coming out here to talk about other than that. So I'm going to just stop it right here before it gets too long. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. So while I'm nursing this migraine, still doing stuff because my mind can't rest. And it's probably because it's getting close to that time of the month, and usually around that time, my spirit gets really high, and I don't know, it could be biological, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't have time to think about that. But I remember what I was thinking about. Just thinking about the trauma brain. I first heard that term by the holistic psychologist, and also thinking about a term I created that I only heard me say. It's called trauma bias. But it's just kind of like how the black mind, or I feel like a mind that has been consistently subjected to traumas in many aspects, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it just operates differently. Like it exacerbates and catastrophizes things. Like, we can watch a movie, and the way we program that information sometimes can be seen as fact, and like just thinking about like intrusive thoughts and memories and like nightmares, and how like I have a fear of water, and like I'm always like that fear of water can turn from just drowning to being eaten by a shark and being this and being that, or me taking a risk and having fun jumping out of an airplane turns into the person turns their back on me, and this was a plot to kill me, and they escape. They like detach themselves from my harness, and then I'm like going towards the water, and then I'm trying to go through fight or flight, and I'm trying to swim, and all this extra, like, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like I can't have a positive thought. Like, this is why I say the black mind, it has to go through so much darkness to see the light. And it's like, because we have so much unlearning to do. And as a parent, you have to realize, like, a lot of what you think your child doesn't have in them, they do. And a big part of being a parent and a teacher is helping your child learn how to unlearn things. So you're teaching them how to unlearn anything that does not sit well with their spirit, does not make them feel, feelings of bliss, happiness, joy. Because those are all mental roadblocks, and energetic roadblocks, and spiritual roadblocks that we have to conquer. But also, I was just thinking about, when I was saying there's so much trauma in the media that we've seen growing up, in TV and all that. And I was just thinking about a movie I watched as a kid, and I remember going through my awakening that I was wondering, like, if a lot of the traumas that I was storing or was feeling were actually even my reality, or was it something I was seeing? Something I had seen on TV. And so my reality versus my imagination was becoming blurred, and it was becoming hard for me to determine what was actually true that happened to me and what was something that I attached my personal experience to. Like, I remember watching this movie, very popular movie, and there was like a rape scene, and the little girl was raped or something. And I watched it as like, I don't know how old I was, maybe 10, I don't know. But, growing up in black families, I know a lot of us, we would all watch TV together. It really was no PG-13 or whatever, yada, yada, yada. But, so I watched it, and I feel like I absorbed that experience as myself because it came from that victim mentality, already having that, feeling like an oddball, a black sheep, like that pain I had, I attached and just piled on more pain because I felt comfortable in that energy of pain. I felt comfortable in the energy of trauma because I already felt a level of disconnect, not fitting in or whatever else I had put into my mind because I had issues with, or maybe a hard time with connecting with others around me. And so these are the kind of things that I say. It's like a lot of the stuff that we watch, if we're not taught that is just pretend, if we don't have conversations with our children and let them know that this is not real, or filter the things that they watch, you don't know how they're absorbing that information, how they're perceiving that into their own mind and thus their reality. So please keep that in mind when it comes to media and the programming.